Welcome to the Client Generation Podcast, a show where we interview some of the most successful people in real estate to help you understand how to generate leads, build a brand, and convert more clients in your business. What's up, everybody? Grant Weiss here. Welcome to the Client Generation Podcast. Excited for my guest today. I have Chris Abazis from Dream Key Consulting. Hopefully I got that right. I practiced a few times before we got going. But Chris, thanks for stopping by the show, man. I appreciate it.
Great, man. Grant, thanks for having me. It's so great to be here.
Chris is an incredibly patient guy. I know that because he has had like 4 scheduled meetings with me, and I've had to either cancel or be late to like every single one of them. It's not, it doesn't happen often, but I know Chris is a good dude as a result of that. He's been incredibly patient with me. But dude, I'm excited to have you in here today and talk about a lot of what it is that you do in the real estate community. But before we dive into that, give everybody the brief backstory. How did you get to where you are today?
So right around when 9/11 happened, I lived in Queens, and I got put on academic probation in college. So and at the same time found an apartment, and I was like, man, I was moderately interested in real estate. So I got licensed in real estate, figured I'd sell real estate until I figure out what I want to be when I grow up. I was the rookie of the year. Fast forward to 2009, 2010, I was in my late 20s, had a very successful business, and the opportunity was presented to me to launch and run a company as their team leader and CEO. So I took that opportunity in a down market, and they're like, "Hey, Chris, fill this office," and I did. I knocked it out of the park, and within a couple of years, had close to 300 agents. And I really fell in love with the people development aspect of it. And, I'm a perpetual student. I'm always learning, really enjoyed teaching and helping agents' businesses grow. And that was my thing. The reason why I was so successful with recruiting was being able to take the solo agent, help them build a team, or being able to take somebody who was really busy. And leverage became my specialty. And I fell in love with that. I launched a few offices. I had ownership in 3 different offices. Then I was like, what's next? So I started hitting the road speaking, and I got out of real estate office leadership, and just launched Dream Key Consulting because I think everybody should love what you do, right? Do shit you love. That's what I say all the time. So, and just started working with business owners even outside of real estate business. So, and that's now what I do 100% of the time is I work with people on systems, tools, and human beings, and help them grow and leverage their business so they can do more things that they like doing.
Man, I love it. I love the stories like this. People that just come into the business and crush it, and then turn around and start helping other people do the same thing. What would you say right now? As we're looking at, we've gone through this clear market shift, and we're moving towards, who knows, right? Pending recession, higher interest rates, high volume of competition, more licensed real estate agents than there has ever been. What would you say right now are just like top 2-3 most important things for real estate agents to do to really ensure that they pivot strong into a shifting market, and we don't focus on contraction here, getting smaller. Like, how do we do this? How do we pivot and expand in a market like we may be entering?
I have to say, I think most of the clients that I work with, even ones with really big businesses, the biggest opportunity they have are the things that are right under their nose, right? So we talk about sphere of influence, your past clients, people that you know. I think the question we have to ask ourselves as any professional, right? So how can you add value to those people in between transactions? I think we get so wrapped up with, the generating the new client, throwing a lot of money in marketing, and being ever present on social media and all this stuff, which is all great, it's all important. But it's like, what about the nest egg that you have there, right? Are we really getting a 10 to 15% return on the people that we know that we've worked with before, our business to business relationships, right? Our past clients, our raving fans, are we really nurturing that at the highest level? And what do we do as real estate professionals? It's a lot of people, it's like, well, I run out of things to talk about. I'm just calling people. Who do you know that's thinking about interested in selling or buying real estate? It's not always about that. I've got a guy over in Jupiter, Florida named Brett Bogie, and he's got a perks program. He's got a pickup truck people borrow. He does movie nights. He does all kinds of stuff like that. Chair and table rentals. I got another team in Westchester that does 4 or 5 customer appreciation events every year, and they're very successful with that. And I think that kind of warm and fuzzy, that we've lost during the pandemic and during COVID. Everyone started booming with online lead generation and videos and stuff like that. And I'm a video guy. So I think that's the biggest opportunity right now. And you don't really need a big, massive amount of contacts. I mean, for every 100 people you're really working with, you can do 10 to 15 transaction sides a year. And I think that's really where separates the good from the great, adding value between those transactions.
Man, I love it. There's a lot of principles in what you just kind of laid out. It's funny how that seems to be the best thing to do in the good times and the bad.
Yeah, it is. It always is. It's just sometimes we always go for that low hanging fruit, right? So interest rates are low. Everyone's buying. Man, how many people turned people into, and during that time, I was like, hey, all of your homeowners, they're sitting on dormant equity, interest rates are low, turn them into investors. And that was a big boom, right? And so that's a way to add value to people. So it's understanding the ebbs and flows of the market. And we launched our office in 2009, 2010. And that's when nobody was buying houses. People were begging you to show their listings. It was a completely different market. And I think that that's actually where it's a good opportunity to sharpen your axe, right? Learn, get better at servicing. While you have to know more on how to price, you have to know on how to listen better. It becomes more and more important to actually know what you're doing. Having a license and driving with Uber on the side isn't going to work for you anymore. Right.
Yeah. We talk, like what I hear in some of what you're talking about, I think is a really important point to highlight, especially right now, is market to message match or message to market match.
Yeah.
Can you talk to me a little bit about how important that is, no matter what's going on in the market? We get that we've got to consistently love on our community. It's like rule number one when you come into business. That's what anybody and everybody tells you to do, is call everybody in your phone and tell them you're in real estate, right? Start to love on whatever community might be living in this device, like start to add value to those people. But when you talk about messaging, what are some of the things that you teach people or consult people on as times change? Because there was a message during COVID, there's a message now, there will be another message in 2 to 3 years. What are some of the most important things to pay attention to whenever you're developing that message?
First of all, it all goes back to being authentic. And through all of your messaging, you should be able to design how you occur to your people, right? So how are you showing up? How are people seeing you? And part of that messaging is going to be part you and who you are. Another part of it is going to be expertise or professionalism, right? So we look at people that are really study the numbers and they're on top of market data and they know what's happening and they know how to interpret that stuff. And they're really good at getting that message out to the community. It's always, what does it mean to their people? And I think there's some old school thinking that's kind of like, it's always a good time to buy or sell real estate. I don't know if you ever heard that, Grant, right? Like, so some of those old school trainers, and it's not for everybody. Some people are in different situations, and it's really being sensitive to what's going on in the market and what does that mean to each individual? What's that mean to your community? And if you're getting that out there effectively, and there's, in your conversations, in your video, in your posts, in all the things that you're doing, in your emails, just say, hey, this is what's happening. This is what's happening, and this is what it could mean to you, right? If you're a buyer, if you're an investor, I keep hearing this thing, like everyone's talking about the interest rates. Oh my God, they're going so high. And all these mortgage people and realtors are saying there's still historically low interest rates. And I'm like, well, tell that to a single mother that just got approved for a certain amount. She was going to be able to responsibly afford a single family home in her community. And now she's not going to be able to, just because of that interest rate jump, And so it's just, knowing what's happening and presenting yourself as an expert and a professional, but also who am I in all this? And I think by doing that, you're going to connect with the people you're meant to work with. There's people out there that are going to hear it and be like, I don't like what this guy or girl has to say. But then there's people that are like, hey, I understand this. I connect with this person. And I think that's what's real important. It's that combination of being authentically you and being an expert. School is never out. School is never out for the professionals out there. So just knowing that stuff.
Why do you think so many people latch to that kind of like mainstream messaging, even though like it is not necessarily, I don't think like insensitive is the right word, but like what the hell does a mortgage rate 20 or 30 years ago have to do with what's going on in the market today? I like how you put that, like tell that to the single mother that now can't maybe purchase a home because of interest rates. What does she give a crap about mortgage rates 20 or 30 years ago?
Exactly.
Like, why do people latch to that? What do you think that is?
Well, I think things happen. We have the mainstream media, we have news that comes out, and housing crisis and interest rate crisis. And I mean, I'm in Florida. There's an insurance interest rate. There's an insurance crisis over here. It's everyone is crisis mode. Remember when COVID hit? Everybody was like buying toilet paper. I don't know what that had to do with getting sick, but it's just there was people panic, and I think that's just I think that's a knee-jerk response to a knee-jerk response. And people, so when loan officers and realtors and they see people starting to panic, and then somebody says something, and they're like, that sounds good. So this person that's a top producer, that's that a lot of people know and respect, said this thing. So that must be what's kind of easing everybody. So I think there's a level of conformity, and nothing shows us that better than things like social media, where we see a whole bunch of agents doing the same thing, and we're like, I know those people. They're a lot funnier than that, or they're a lot more easygoing than that, and that's kind of I think just people, and I did it when I was new. You say, oh, this person's a top producer. That let me do what they do. Let me behave like them. Let me talk like them, and
model them. Yeah.
Yeah, they don't really, and then that's cool. Do those things, but then once you're comfortable, you got to kind of what are you bringing to the table that's unique? Because really, that's all you have. That's unique. But people have to be careful where they're getting their information from, and it's okay to interpret things differently. And you just want to make sure that your tribe is getting it. Your tribe is getting what you need them to get, right? So, hey, don't panic. Here's what it is. And it might be a historically lower interest rate, and that might not matter to some people, but some people it does, and just being sensitive to that. Yeah.
What are some of the top things that you consult people to do to love on their tribes, communities, groups of people, that their sphere, their database? Like how are you coaching people on really just like giving to their groups of people so that they, may be able to nurture those relationships and turn that into business at some point?
Yeah, well, I'm glad that you asked that. So the first thing that I do with people when they come over is we kind of look at their business. Hey, do you have a database? What's that look like? How do you keep in touch with them? Are you kind of blindly hitting send on some drip campaign that came along with your CRM? Or are you following up? Are you touching base with people? Have you asked them how they prefer to be kept in touch with? So, one of the things that I tell people to do right up front is, listen, look at all your favorite people, right? Start with your favorite people and give them a call and touch base with them and say, hey, I'm working on some new stuff in my business, whether I'm putting a blog together or putting a video how-to channel or something that you're doing, and you're just the type of person I want to appeal to. And I'm just curious, how do you prefer me to keep in touch with you? What are some things what's some information, what's some value I can add to you in between us working together, right? So in between you having a need to buy or sell real estate, or in between you referring me to people, how would you like to be kept in touch? I'm thinking about doing customer appreciation events, or I'm thinking about putting together a video newsletter, and we have so many people out there that are doing these things at a high level, right? So, and I love to see people like, I think you had Kyle Whistle on not too long ago, right? That's all about, he puts, hey, here's what's going on in our market. He does these videos, nails it, right? And that's an example of maybe if we ask our people that we're working with, our tribe, how do you want to hear from me? What do you want to know about, right? What do you like about what I do? Allow them to design it with us. Then we wouldn't be kind of, shelling out all these money to hit the easy button on stuff that's just kind of not really authentically us. And that's how many times do we get an email, Grant? We're like, this wasn't written by that person. It's like, so many of them.
Yeah,
I think that's the first place to start is really, and I guarantee you wouldn't be able to get through that list without getting some kind of engagement or referral. And then the next step with that is nobody's using social media people are just posting stuff, right? So the last thing that I taught, which actually I talked about the Whitley platform to do this, was like digital door knocking. Take your sphere of influence list, upload it into Facebook and Instagram, and whatever you're sending out there, whatever you're putting out there, why don't you do a little paid promotion, a little paid ad to the people that know you? Are we doing that? Are we really laser focusing it? No, typically we're just kind of, I have this house for sale, or do you want to sell your house? Some kind of combination of that and putting it out there. And they're all important, but I think we're skipping right over the people that we know and that worked with us in our tribe, and we're going right to looking for the new people, right? The new blood all the time.
I like what you said, because you're talking like you hear that sometimes. I think it's a great lesson that's taught us. Some people say, let's build a product and then go find a customer.
Yeah.
And that's not really the right way to do it. The right way to do it is to build a customer base and then, or find a customer base and then build a product that they like, that they want. Like you said, one of the easiest ways to know what kind of content to put out there is literally just to ask.
Ask them.
But,
What do they want to hear from me? I'm like, why don't you go out and ask them? That's your homework. And people are like, that's a great idea. And I'm like, well, I'm glad you needed to pay me a ton of money to tell you to do that, because it seems easy, right?
Right. But it's so true. Like even how we launched Whitley as a company years and years and years ago, I didn't go build some product and then I was like, all right, now I got to figure out how to sell it. It was, we already had a very large customer base and we knew that their number one problem was marketing automation.
Mm-hmm.
And so we were like, okay, well, now we know what to build. And so we built something, and that's why we've had so much success. And I think it's such an important lesson for agents that are putting way too much thought into this. Literally just go ask. Don't ask a marketer who's built a template so that he can teach 1,000 people how to do what it is that needs to be done. Ask your customers, your clients, the people in your database, what it is that they want to hear more of. And what I've always really kind of thought was interesting is that when you ask like your ideal customer what it is that they want to hear from you, it's typically the stuff you already want, you want to talk about. Like it's typically like hiking and food and whatever else that might look like. And I think there's a lot of freedom when you go out and ask your customer base what to talk about, and they come back and tell you like, they just want you to be yourself.
Isn't that funny? And it's you're letting them know that you care about them and what they think. I mean, even if you ever go, I'd say, go out for somebody for a cup of coffee and say, hey, I'm working on, check out some new video podcasts I'm shooting, right? What do you think about them? What do you think, right? And you're just letting them know you care about what they think and that they're the type of person you want to work with. And when you do this effectively, you really never have to go out there and say, hey, if you know anybody that's thinking about selling or buying, remember me, right? And I'm sure, like Grant, you don't go out to people and say, hey, for all your social media marketing needs in real estate, remember, Will, you're not talking to people about that. People just know. I mean, when I think of marketing, when I think of real estate marketing, like you're at the top of my mind. You've never come to me and said, hey, don't forget about me. You're just there, right? And adding value, doing things like this, going out there and teaching, which is, I think, we all have our different strengths. And for me, that was it. It was like kind of teaching and educating was the way that I built my real estate sales business, and is now just how that's how I became a coach by accident, because I was a speaker, speaking for the company, and I was traveling around speaking on building teams. And people would come up to me and be like, I need more of this. I need to know how to hire an assistant. I need more leverage in my life. And I was just kind of like, I don't really have anything. Give me your business card and I'll put you on the list whenever I speak. And then my coach said, he's like, you have a coaching business sitting right there. And I'm like, well, I'm running an office. Like, he's like, do you love it? And I said, I love helping people. And he said, Chris, what are you saying yes to that's making you say no to doing shit you really love to do? And I was like, I got to get out of office leadership. Right. And I was making a ton of money. I was in my early 30s, and I owned, had ownership in 3 different offices. And it was just, it comes down to, man, really being able to do what you love. And that's how I was kind of born. That was the genesis of me. And then the people I work with, it tends to be what they appreciate most about how I can help them. And it's not always about, shoveling more money into your bank account. Sometimes it's about playing more golf and drinking more beer. You never know. So let's help them get there, right?
Man, what a profound lesson. What do you say? How did you say that? You said, what are you saying yes to that's preventing you from saying no to the stuff you really want to do?
And we're always saying, it's a series of, what are we saying yes to that was making us say no to other things? And sometimes that's clients. I mean, I don't know if you've ever worked with anybody that I have clients who are like, I had one lady, she's like, I hate all my sellers. They're driving me crazy. And I was like, well, why are you working with sellers that are driving you crazy? And I actually gave her homework to turn down a listing that week. And when she did that, to reward herself with a spa day. And it kind of just changed thinking around that. And it's okay. Yeah. It's okay for everyone not to want to work with me or Grant Wise, right? It's like, there's a lot of people, and you just have to be okay with that. And I think a lot of real estate, in the real estate industry, it's just like build, grow, big, right? Like it's just, It's like, what if you don't want to? What if you don't want to do that? It's okay, right? So here's what I want my business to look like, and here's the people I wanted to do it with, and that's my goal, and I'm okay with that. It's okay if you don't want to build a team. Not everybody wants to run a big team. Some people want to build a team and they want to step away from their business and do other things. Both of those things are okay. You just have to be careful about the people you surround yourself with that are going to understand that and support that and add to that, right? So that's kind of like the circles I roll with. And it's, when you have that kind of thinking, and then that's when kind of life and work, I don't make any distinction between them. It's kind of when it really gets good, gets delicious.
Yeah, man, I love it. I think that's an amazing place to stop, is just understanding like the core lesson that you just kind of gave everybody there ties back to everything, like in business and marketing and messaging and sales and advertising and all of these things, is understanding that you might be saying yes to a lot of stuff that is preventing you from being able to, say yes to the things that you really want to say yes to. And we see it so often that people come in and they're so afraid of perception and using it as a reason not to go build a brand. And I think it's such a good lesson there. And understanding that, like, the reality is, like, you're saying yes to things that you really should say no to, so you can say yes to the things you really want. Man, it's awesome. I love it. So Chris, what would be the number one way if somebody was like, I got to get a hold of this Chris guy, because I want to start saying yes to some stuff in my life that maybe I've been saying no to? Like, what would be the best way for somebody to reach out and connect with you if they wanted to learn more about you and what you do?
I know there's a plethora of social media pages. Then I'm also a partner in a video production company. We have all these things and all these websites. So I actually have a link tree type of website at Abazis.com, just my name.com, and that'll be all the links to my stuff, Abazis.com, and you could schedule a 30-minute strategy session if you like. You could join my real estate role play group from there. You could check out all my websites, all my social media, and just kind of that's the buffet that is Chris.
Yes.
You can choose and eat what you like. So that's the best place to get to all my stuff in one spot.
Okay, and that's Abazis is Abazis. So ChrisAbazis.com. We will make sure that we link that in the show notes. So that way, if you want to connect with Chris,
sure, you
can do that. I encourage you to do so. Some profound messaging in the podcast today. I really appreciate you stopping by the show, man. It was awesome to get to connect with you a little bit more.
Thanks for having me.
I appreciate you sharing some wisdom with our community. I hope you have an amazing rest of your day. And thank you to those of you that are continuing to listen to the Client Generation podcast. We really appreciate you and appreciate the value that we get to provide you. We're looking forward to seeing you on the next episode. We'll see you later.
Thank you so much, Grant. Take care. Bye.
Thanks, Chris. Thank you for listening to this episode of the Client Generation podcast. Please make sure that you rate and review this episode so that we can continue to bring you more incredible guests to help you grow your business. Thanks, and have an amazing day.